Hello everybody, welcome to Technique Tuesday. Today we're going to be making this fun and easy trifold storybook card. It's got 3 layers to it and it keeps opening like a storybook. So obviously the story of this one is happy birthday to you. It's got a little bit extra on the inside before you get to what's the middle that you can sign or stamp another greeting on. Like I say, it's really quick and easy, but rather effective. So without further ado, let's get started. As always, of course, the dimensions and the measurements and the description of how to do it will be in the box below. So without further ado, let's get started. So it begins with a piece of 12 by 12 designer series paper cut at 5 1/2. So you get 2 out of 1 sheet of designer series paper. It's scored at 1 3/4, 4 3/4 and 7 3/4, and then there are the 3 layers that go on the top or as you go through, and they are 2 3/4 by 3 3/4, 2 1/2 by 3 1/2. So it's using the basic white and the granny apple green. So let's get the folds folded where the score lines are. So there's one at 1 3/4, 4 3/4 and 7 3/4, and then what we need to do is actually these two, we need to stick them together so they become one piece. And the way I found easiest was to fold this little flap out of the way and run the adhesive down there, and then fold it the other way. Just because it's such a busy pattern, I didn't want to overrun myself and put sticky where it didn't want to be. So now we can go ahead and pop that down so it's stuck together, and then we've got 1, 2, 3 pages on our book. What we need to do next is take an extra piece of designer series paper. Oops, I'm overhanging my overhead camera rig up. So then we're going to take the Memento black, and I'm going to use the Zany Zoo stamp set, and actually I'm going to be using the Zany Zoo die cuts as well. They come as a bundle. If you buy them as a bundle, you get 10% off. So what we'll do is we'll take the Memento black and we'll stamp the little raccoon chap onto the basic black. Oh, my camera just does not want to behave itself today for reasons unknown. So we'll stamp that, and then we will get the turtle guy, pop him onto the acrylic block and stamp him too, and that's all the stamping that we need to do. So that was quick and easy. Actually, there's a couple of more bits of stamping. Actually, I just lied live on my video. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we will color these with the alcohol markers. And what I did was I just picked the colors that match the designer series paper. This designer series paper actually is the Dandy Designs, which was one of the ones that were available free from Celebration. But if you're anything like me, you've always got far too much designer series paper. So whichever one you want to use and match with any stamp sets that you have that you want to make the most of, that's what I would recommend you do. So now the good thing about the alcohol markers is they cover effortlessly. There's a nice bullet end that you can get right in. But I like it best because if you do more than one stroke, typically they don't show lines like regular markers do. So you can get away with being not the world's best colourer. Let's just call it that. Then we'll quickly colour in the rest of his body. Oops, doesn't matter if you overrun because we're going to cut him out with the die cutters. And I'm going to take the lightest granny apple green and colour this lovely little chap. any bits of him that look turtly. And then go back with the darker colour, but because it's a finer area that I'm trying to cover, I'm doing it again with the bullet point. And then last but not least, what colour is Tummy? This nice little soft squishy underbelly. So that's the stamping and the colouring for the two critters that are going to be on the card. And then by the power of YouTube and Blue Peter and all those good things, here's what it looks like after I've run them through the die cutting machine. And then what we need to do is just pop those off to one side, because what I'm going to do now is make the layers of the storybook. I found making the first one that it was actually better to do all the stamping and attach it to the main body of the card before there were any dimensionals involved. And my two little guys, I am going to stick on with dimensionals. So I'm just going to leave it plain for now and do all the stamping first. So I'm going to use Fresh Freesia, which coordinates with one of the dots in the paper. And we'll put Happy Birthday up in that corner. And then this one says Something Great to Celebrate You. So that will go down in the bottom. If you had other greetings, of course, you could put them on the inside. I am just using all of the stamp sets, all of the stamps from that one set. And there were only really two that I wanted to use. And then last but not least, I'm going to bring back in the Memento black. And there are some little music notes. And I'm going to pop those up in the top corner. So when I put the turtle guy on, it looks like he's actually singing. And then, like I said, we're going to do all the attaching before we do any dimensions. So we'll just put sticky on the back of these three pieces, 3 basic whites, attach them to 3 granny apple greens. Then I'll show you a little trick as to how you get them all on nice and even. So remember when we did ZZ fold cards? Let me just move all this stuff out the way so it looks like a neater shot. Camera troubles today, people. So what we'll do is we're going to put the front greeting here, but we've actually only got this little piece to attach it to. So the trick is to put it on upside down. Make sure it's oriented the right way. So just flip it over. And then we know we can put sticky up to the line of this layer. So we can put 2 runs of adhesive there. So when we flip it back over and we center it back up again, we know there's only sticky under here, and we're not going to stick this part down to the next layer. Otherwise, you know, when you lifted it up, the whole thing would come with you. And then the inside piece, we're going to do more or less the same. We know this is going to fit here, and we've got almost 3/4 of the size of this before we would run into sticking it to the bottom. I'm not actually going to flip it over necessarily, just more or less. Make sure we've got adhesive where we want it to be and not where it would stick to the next layer down. But what we're going to do is we're going to put this under the front one because we don't want it to show before the card's been opened. So we'll put it lined up evenly, and then we'll close the middle section down onto it. So when you open it up, it's there, but again, we don't have the sticky. The last layer is just going solid on the back, so it doesn't really matter where you put the adhesive because we really want it to be everywhere. But again, we'll close these down, we'll line this one up, and then we'll close the back onto it. So when we come to open them all, they're all even and nobody's sticking to anything. And then last but not least, we can go ahead and pop some dimensionals on. Then it just hasn't been lumpy when we were trying to adhere this one. Whoops. Put one on the back of his head. So our little raccoon friend will be the front person. Oh, the backing papers are sticking to me. Come on, get away. And we'll pop that one on there. And then we'll do the next one on the inside. And like I said, it looks like this little guy is actually singing, or just gives that impression. So that's it. Trifold, so we get 2 little fun images and then somewhere to stamp an extra greeting or write happy birthday to your lucky recipient. If you've liked what you've seen, please consider subscribing. If you want to like it, I like to be liked. It helps me bring more videos like this to you. If you've got any questions, feel free to email me or pop something in the comment box below. And last but not least, thanks so much for watching.